routine. Capturing shrines while taking what's unseen. Of the art, we're kings, we're supreme. Never seen the limits in we evergreen. Time grows, visions from stand. We will go claim the crown. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice steel. We're fighting it down. Run and charge and calculate the power we bring. Running like a band that hear the battle sing. We're blazing through the ranks on the move and swing. With might in our hearts to take everything. Everything pillars rise as we claim our throne. For victory, we've already grown. On the field we fight, we overthrow the known. Nothing stop us, ain't no way we stand alone. Time grows, visions from stand. We will go claim the crown. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice steel. We're fighting death. From the desert outside to the desert outpost, we're craving more. With every sweet stride, we will ride. We're opening the door. So here's to the grind. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice steel. We're fighting death. Yeah, we're fighting death. We're fighting death. We're fighting death.
Hello, governors. Welcome to Osiris League Season 9, Group Stage, Round 2. I'm your host, Plato Gaming, caster, and content creator for Rise of Kingdoms. And today we are joined by our fellow caster, Dirty Dan. Glad to be back in the booth with you, man, for another season.
Absolutely, Plato. Good to be back with you. And yeah, if it's anything like last week's match, got to catch up on you and Brian. Really excited for this next season of Osiris League with you guys.
Yeah, this is indeed week 2 of the Osiris League playoffs, where in each realm, the 32 teams that made it through the qualifier stage started their journey through the playoff group stage. Each of these groups have 4 teams, but only the top 2 in each group will make it to the knockout stage. So each of these games is imperative to win to have the best chance of being the team that makes it out of the group. Today we are casting Group G from the realm of Horus, Ao77 from Kingdom 2377 versus 60MX from Kingdom 1960. Ao77 were in the realm of Anubis last season and are the second team from the prestigious Kingdom of 2377. They've had previous success in 2023 where they made it to the semifinals in Anubis and are looking to replicate that run to the top here. However, a very familiar opponent stands in their way. Though the second team in 1960, 60MX has had a history of success, making it to the knockout stage each of the last 5 seasons, even fighting their sister team, 60GT, in the finals in Season 5. They are looking to continue their consistency that has brought them to the knockout stage 5 seasons in a row. Two sister teams against the rival kingdoms. Will 2377 be able to take revenge for the previous Mega KVK, or will 1960 continue their consistency and take the next step towards the knockout stage? Man, Dirty Dan, what do you think of this matchup?
Well, first off, I think we can all agree that Lilith has a way for theatrics, giving us the kind of pseudo rematch here from that Mega KVK that we just got done with. And it's not the first time that they've done this. So Lilith definitely loving their theatrics. And I'm really excited here. I think obviously adding this wrinkle of like storytelling and maybe a little bit of drama from this last KVK, you know, and just adding that extra layer of us as a community So I'm really excited for this match. I'm really excited to see the new skill systems and the new skills that people have been using, which is kind of changing the meta and shifting the direction and kind of in which we go in a way. And I know there was a little bit that you wanted to maybe talk on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, these two kingdoms, we've experienced it firsthand. We were both in that KVK. You're in 1093, I'm in 1960. And it was an absolutely crazy KVK to play. It was an absolutely crazy KVK to watch. It's not, we'll see if that kind of transpires and carries over to this match, where both of these teams are 1-0 in their group. So essentially, you know, whoever wins this will be the favorites to not only make it out of the group, but be the first seed in the group, making their round of 16, the knockout stage round, a little bit easier in terms of matchmaking. And man, these two teams going head to head is going to be so interesting. And let's see how these two sister teams work out, because 2377, Ao77 have been super strong as of late, you know, making it to the top for 2 seasons ago. MX 60MX have not really been that. They've made it to the top. They made it to the top 16, but they've failed to make it past the first stage in a couple seasons in a row. So we'll have to see if they'll be able to make it through this time. And being able to win this game will make it that much easier and even that much sweeter of an Osiris League run. Talking about the new skills, man, these new skills, specifically Time Warp and No March, have been game changers. We saw that last game that we casted, whereas WIB versus 75DC. And No March was a game changer for the building game. Dirty Dan, what do you think of these skills that are being used in Osiris League? The new skills that were given this season.
So with No March in particular, I really like it because I think in the Grand Prix we saw this shift going into the occupation game, but there was also a heavy focus on farming with that strategy. And I really like that Lilith was able to observe that and then give us a way to enter this occupation realm without having to rely so much on the provision game as well. Because I mean, let's be real, we're here for the fighting and for the action, and you know, it comes down to it at times, and it still is going to come down to it, where we are going to kind of go in and see who's bringing in the last of the provisions. But I think as a community, we would like to see, obviously, who's fighting for that last altar, for those points that are going to put you over the top, or in the case of last week, who's going to try and make it a 4-arc match and just come this close away from advancing in Osiris League. So yeah, I really like what Lilith has done with that, and then even with the Time Warp too, just adding this extra wrinkle, kind of allowing you to use, I believe last week even there was 2 the death used in kind of consecutive moments. So like there's just they're doing it the right way to add these extra layers of strategy for us. And there's a couple other skills on the board as well that we're going to have to see if people are going to start to adapt as well. And I'm sure as we get through these rounds and through these matches, that more and more strategies are going to kind of come to the forefront. So I'm really liking what we're seeing so far from the first week that you guys casted, and I'm very excited to see and both these teams using No March and Time Warp. So we're going to see some usage out of it today for sure. So look for it to be a pretty heavy on the occupation game potentially.
Talking about the match, let us get into the match. The Temple of Osiris, yet again, fighting for that crown, fighting for not only the skin, but potentially the championship here. Ao77 in this top left corner versus 60MX. Man. Dan, we didn't talk about predictions. What do you think? Who do you think will win this match between 60MX, Ao77? Both these kingdoms, both these teams, they're not in KVK now. We're chilling in off season. So
why do you gotta do this to me? Oh
man. Full effort onto this Osiris League season for both kingdoms here.
It's a tale of two takes, right? You have 60MX on the side of momentum, right? And if it's going to be anything like last KVK, the momentum really kind of, you can get that huge snowball effect. On the other hand, with Ao77, this is kind of like a grudge match, right? So there's maybe a little bit more on the line for them. I don't want to call them the underdogs, but you know, from if it was anything like this last KVK, slight underdogs, I would say prediction AO77 for the dub for the revenge match.
Ooh, interesting. AO77 being predicted. We have Cortex and Redline. Two of the three Musketeers, and the other one here is casting. And we'll have to see, 8 seconds to go, how this opening will go. And as he said, no March time warp used by both teams in the previous game. It's going to be so interesting because both teams are not going to, you know, hold back any punches. They're not going to be, this is going to be full effort from both teams. You can see energetic being used out of the gate. The fast marches, the double C's are running, sprinting towards the obelisks. What do you expect anything different from the opening here that we'll see, or will it be pretty standard?
I think things will stay standard a little bit. So you're probably going to get a little bit of a heavier push on one side. Is usually what we see on one of those inner lanes. So I think until they get the point accumulation is really when we'll start to see things get, you know, a little bit different from what we're used to seeing in previous seasons. So I would look for somewhat of a more standard opening, especially kind of to the point that you made that, you know, the winner of this match is going to be kind of poised to go into the round of 16 with a little bit of a better advantage. So if this was per se maybe like a second match and the seedings were a little bit more secure, I think maybe we'd see some funky stuff coming out of the gates. But I think we'll see a little bit of a standard opening here.
We could see there are some sentries from the AO77 side looking towards their own desert altar, perhaps the opponent's sky altar, seeing the allocation of troops. And then for MX here, there are some sentries in front of the desert altar as well as in between the desert altar, Shrine of Life, trying to see the assault onto their sky altar. Pretty defensive sentries in my opinion from MX here. So trying to go even, trying to make sure that they allocate the right amount of troops to each of these buildings here. The rallies were pretty standard, Dirty Dan. We saw pretty much just the obelisk rallies from each side.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, are the opposing obelisk rallies, the rallies going to your enemy's obelisk, will those be actual contests or are they going to be transport rallies? Because there is one rally missing from the MX side. There's only 7 rallies that were launched. We'll have to see if, you know, if that obelisk will be attacked. But overall, looks like a sentry taken down from AO77. So they will be blind towards a sky altar offensive, potentially. And perhaps that was scouted by MX, and that's why they put their sentry there.
That was crucial. That was a pretty nice play there. Again, even on these openings, these small plays could have pretty big implications. And it's just, again, I like what Redline said last season when he came back on, is this arc is really this battle of information, and whoever has more information and communicate it the best is usually going to be the one who's going to have an edge. And that was a good play there from AO77 to sniff that out.
You can see that the touch points towards these desert altars getting pretty close here. We have the human sentry here of Mammer getting insta sad face. Look how fast that march is going home. It's zooming. Oh my goodness.
Those armaments at play.
That was the fastest sad face I think I've seen ever. And trust me, this last KVK, we've definitely seen a lot of sad faces.
Oh yeah.
As we see that both these teams starting to murder ball up, the rally going past the desert altar here. Perhaps going for an offensive on this obelisk. Interesting. We'll keep eyes on that. Bottom side, same thing with AO77. Because it's been a while. I mean, we did cast last week, but I'm pretty sure if this was a transport rally, you would have broke it inside of your murder ball, right? The fact that they broke, the fact that they didn't break it kind of indicates that they're going towards these obelisks, trying to contest, trying to make sure that 6CMX stays on their toes here. Looks like there is a player starting to swarm this Attila down.
Yeah, you always want to stay honest on those obelisk rallies. You want to make sure that nothing funky happens, and then also too, you kind of want to be able to deal with it in case they break the rally and try to stall on some teleports, on key teleport spots for you as well. So it's always a good thing to keep in mind to keep a player there and honest.
We'll keep an eye on the obelisk in this top right corner mini map here as we watch the initial murder balls in front of the desert altar. This initial push from Ao77 looks like it was thwarted. And let's check out the other top desert altar. Looks like both sides will be able to defend their own home desert altars pretty safely here. Not too much of a contest, although 60MX are able to get a garrison in there. I don't know how they were able to just walk a garrison in there for free, but there is a Heraclius inside of this desert altar. If they're able to fill up this desert altar, perhaps even delay the first capture, try to keep Ao77 on their toes. That's actually a huge play from the Garrison League, just walking up a Heraclius, perhaps inside of the rally, right? Perhaps they were able to cancel the rally, get the Heraclius up there. But this is going to be an annoyance, at least for Ao77. There is 6.5 minutes until Arc spawns. But it does look like they are able to clear out the open field here. So this should be a pretty easy recapture for them.
Yeah, I would expect the recapture here, but again, it is good to stall the points, and we have no March at play, which is, potentially leaning towards higher and higher occupation scores. And I think, you want to have, with that in play and in the back of the mind of everyone now, you want to try and secure all of the occupation points that you can, even if it means getting it for an extra minute or two to generate some points for you.
I mean, we saw last match that we casted that every single point matters. 60MX, by taking it for a full minute, they're able to deny the 150 continuous occupation points. They're able to delay the first occupation points. So this isn't going to mean too much, but if they're able to recapture this desert altar before Ao77 takes first occupation, it's actually going to be a pretty tough situation, because will Ao77 decide to go Arc? Will they decide to defend their desert altar? We'll have to see, but it looks like Ao77 do have the open field advantage. They are starting to go towards the Shrine of War. Shrine of War was taken by them as well.
Yeah, if they can get down there in time, they might be able to take first capture on this, just maybe stuff some troops in there. But it doesn't look like they're going to be able to make it. But that would be a pretty solid play if they're able to take that. And this garrison's actually holding on, so they might not even need the reinforcements.
I don't know, man. This is looking pretty close. The marches are right there. Dirty Dan. Ao77, we are talking about 60MX sniping. Ao77 in this stretch here, 30 seconds to go. They have full open field coming through. They might be able to take first occupation here. And even though it is a shrine, it is still 400 points towards your team. 400 points taken away from your opponent. So that's going to be 800 points differential overall. 10 seconds to go. Will they be able to take first occupation here? And I think the answer is yes. That is going to be a pretty big play from Ao77. Able to take first occupation. Create an 800 point gap at least. Even though the structure looks like it may fall, it's getting pretty low, although they are swapping marches here.
It's a good hold, and at the very least, you're kind of messing with the timing for 60MX a little bit here. As you can see, the rally on that right on that top view starting to go up to the desert altar. So 60MX having to allocate those resources to take back their Shrine of War, and now gonna have a rally that is a little bit less accompanied than they probably would have liked. So this assault on the desert altar might go for naught, and that's the kind of exchange that you have to take, right? Allocating resources to take back a structure, and now trying to push on to this desert altar.
Just taking a look at the rest of the structures. Looks like the rest of the structures are okay. The sky altar was just taken by Ao77. And this is really interesting. There's only 3 minutes left until Arc. A huge outer lane assault from Ao77 in this top side. Does this potentially indicate that they're going building game. Skyalter was retaken. That's actually pretty impressive because there are a lot of blue marches around here. There you go.
Yeah.
Ao77 able to retake the Skyalter yet again, reminding me of KVK where things are just going back and forth.
Yeah. And that's that outside lane play that we always talk about, right? Especially as you're kind of closing in on the first arc spawn. So really good play here for Ao77 on this top side here to kind of really disrupt the timings for 60MX as we're heading into this first arc spawn in our first mid arc fight.
You can see that I feel like there's a lot more marches from MX here. At least for this early rotation, you could see the discrepancy in terms of the allocation of resources towards this mid fight, which would indicate to me that, there you go, Ao77 using no march as soon as I talk about building game. And we saw that last match that we casted last week, no march was an absolute game changer for the building game, just not only making it harder to take structures with extra defense, it's easier to take structures from your opponents, and you also get more points per minute. You could see 767 versus 533. Did they both use no march? No, only one team used no march. That's pretty interesting. I don't know how they have 533 points per minute when isn't it usually an even number, but you could see that there are some 60MX marches now responding to the Skyalter capture here. Trying to take it back. Looks like they have enough marches.
Yeah, as they need to as well. Like you said, with no marcher, you're kind of adding to the point bonuses that you have there. So you really do have to honor those alter caps as sneaky tactics being used. I will say though,
Desert Storm
sniffed that out. They saw those marches sitting there because of that sentry. So really good play on the sentry placement there. I was keying in on that. I was waiting for us to go back to the middle, but 60MX had that sniffed out the entire time.
Desert Storm on the bar for 60MX. That was actually a pretty big play because we saw that with sneaky tactics, he can be very, very sneaky, very, very annoying against the arc carrier.
Yes.
Now these marches are just walking in full vision for 60MX. They're not invisible here. So they know exactly how many marches are middle, and they could kind of reallocate their troops based off of the marches here. They're like, okay, we only have, I don't know, 20 marches. We could start bring some marches back up here. Try to, I mean, they took back the Skyalter. They could perhaps try a Desert Altar Assault. They could start rotating back to their lanes a little bit earlier here, while also having full control of the arc. I actually love that play from 60MX here. The Desert Storm. We were talking about
crucial.
Brian and I were talking about how using Desert Storm or having Desert Storm on the bar is it's kind of risky. Because if your team doesn't have the sneaky tactics or doesn't do the sneaky tactics strategy here, then you're essentially down a skill. Because Desert Storm, the only use of that, the only utility is to counter sneaky tactics, and able to do so here. And you know what this indicates to me, Dirty Dan, is that 60MX are going to continue doing this mid game.
Classic 960 style, trying to dominate the middle, capture as many arcs as possible, and that's always been the response, right? And now that we have this new wrinkle with a true way to approach the occupation game, there's always been two sides of the take. You're either going to go full occupation, or you're going to go and look to dominate mids and dunk as many arcs as possible. And we've seen 960 implement that strategy before, and it looks like they're doing some more of the same here.
Overall, in the opening right now, Ao77 are ahead by quite a bit due to no march. Even if you're even in terms of structures, you will still get more points because of no march. They are up by about, help me do mental math here. What is that? 2 points, what? 2.8?
It's early, chat. It's early for us. 2.8, yeah.
2.8, right? Okay, there you go. 2.8k points. But overall, especially because that was a 9 points kind of rotation from Ao77 versus the 3 points allocated from 60MX, I think they will just insta-dunk this arc. Just run it
Yes.
back. Because they will have a point advantage. They currently don't have a structure advantage, but overall, with no march being used, they're doing pretty well in the structures. Their structures have flipped, but it hasn't been complete dominance where Ao77 has been freely generating points off of their altars.
Yeah, and again, I think last week we kind of all, and there's the no march from 60MXs, and maybe we get a little bit of a hold here now too. So maybe they will opt to hold this while they go a little bit more offensive on this occupation game. But yeah, I think last week caught as new strategies usually do, kind of catch everyone off guard and like, oh my gosh, look at this new strategy that we can implement. But you know, it doesn't take much time for these top tier teams to kind of sniff out the counters to those plays. And I think 60MX is doing a great job right now in responding to that a little bit of an early no march from Ao77.
Yeah, so the play would be to either, in my opinion, would be either to run back the arc, or as you said, stabilize your buildings, use no march, try to come back in that way and get back in occupation. But I will say Ao77, even though they haven't had complete control of the Sky Altars, they have been denying the point generation at least from 60MX. So that's why they've continuously had this this growing lead. And now they're up to 3.2. So that's 400 point differential since we last checked. And it's gonna continue to grow. 767 points per minute to 247 from 60MX. And if you're 60MX, I mean, kudos to them, they got the first arc. But what do you think their next plan should be, Dirty Dan?
I was kind of with you, honestly. I thought that they were going to make this an arc scoring match, but that use of no march maybe tells me otherwise, as it looks like they are going to be holding on to this arc for a little bit. So I personally probably would have liked to see them cash that arc and go in utilizing that advantage that they were going to have on skill points. I think now the most important thing for them is to stabilize that Sky Altar that's been under pressure pretty much the entirety of this match, as you said, denying points for the most part, not getting any point generation. So that is going to be step one. And as I like to do after first arc, I don't see any provisions on the field for 60MX. Meanwhile, Ao77 does seem to have a player allocated to doing some provisions. So provisions have started for Ao77, none on the board for 60MX.
I will say, as close as the match was last week, if 75 DC didn't provision, WIB would have actually won the match. That's how important. We were talking about, you know, provisioning not being as important. It is still important to have a provisioner out there. So if this
100%.
match continues to be close, especially with Ao77 being in the lead, perhaps that one provisioner that you're referring to might be the difference. We'll have to see 60MX trying to just use those extra 5 marches that are not provisioning to have control. They do have control of their opponent Desert Altar, although their own Sky Altar is still under Ao77's hands. Their own Desert Altar looks like this will be defended as well. The 1v1 against the Attila and the Gorgo here. A respectful 1v1. Oh, there you go. We have a double C just trying to stat based on the rally here. But you can see that 60MX are trying to capture these structures. Again, no march. For those that don't know what no march is, this is, you didn't watch last week or haven't been, you know, playing Osiris League as much. For the next 300 seconds, your team captures buildings 60 seconds faster and gains team points from occupying buildings 30% faster. So that means you get more points when you occupy buildings. In addition, allied troops deal 20% more damage when attacking buildings and take 20% less damage when garrisoning buildings. So it's good for defending, it's good for generating points, it's good for attacking, it's good for buildings in general. So that is why we're seeing each of these teams have that skill. It's just because if you want to go building game, you need to have no march. It's a must.
What is the duration on that skill, Plata? I'm going to try and keep a time mark for us here.
It was 300 seconds on no march.
300 seconds, so 5 minutes. So Ao77's no march no longer in use. and I believe 60MX still getting a little bit out of that. I think they have about 2 minutes left.
60MX, by the way, having 4 altars with the arc.
Go. With no march in play.
With no march in play. They are generating points from these altars. Let's see the points per minute. 962 points per minute to 377. I mean, shout out to Ao77 generating as many points as their kingdom number, but it is... this is very interesting because having the arc and then going building game instead of committing to the arc, I guess it kind of, you know, if you're very confident in your ability to take your opponent's buildings, it'll work out. And so far, it's working out for 60MX.
Yeah, really good play. It is a little risky too, because if you're not able to, you know, kind of restabilize after taking that arc, and you aren't able to take advantage of no march and at least get like an altar, it is a little bit of a risky play, but 60MX doing a good job to get some value there out of that. As you know, we're looking at about that 2,500 point gap now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 provisioners coming out from Ao77. So they heard us talk about provisioners, I think, because they got provisioners out here.
And I think you're right. I mean, I think it's a part of the game mechanics, and like you still need to honor that. You still need to, I feel like, at the very least, allocate one player, because that one player is going to be able to generate about the amount of points of one arc, or one of the earlier arc scores. So it is a good way to kind of negate if someone does cap an arc on you, and it's just something that I think you have to do and honor at least a little bit.
Ao77 able to rebound here. Looks like they're going to be able to take at least their home altars. The Sky Altar, fully blue. Now, the question is, will they be able to take the Desert Altar? And the answer is yes, as soon as I ask that question. And, you know, just like the KBK that these two kingdoms and these two teams participated in, it is just this consistent back and forth. This pendulum swinging as the buildings continue to fall. And overall, like, if you had to pick a situation to be in, Dirty Dan, would you rather be in Ao77's position, or would you rather be in 60MX's position right now?
I think I would rather be in 60MX, just because it looks like they are, after that last no march play, they are kind of dictating the tempo a little bit there. It looks like Ao77, like you said, is rebounding nicely, but I do still think that because they were able to utilize and get some value and points out of that no march, that 60MX does still have a little bit of this tempo control.
Yeah, looks like the sad face from Ao77. The retake of the Desert Altar. Sky Altar should be fine. Sky Altar in this top side, though. Looks like there is a little bit of aggression coming in from Ao77 in this outer lane. They have some sneaky marches out here coming from the top with a garrison lead. Just trying to go to this outer lane, stay in stealth, and try to perhaps swarm the structure as the rally comes in. We have 4 minutes 30 seconds until the arc has to be captured. Do you think MX will just hold this arc until the last possible second and try to make this a 2-arc game, or do you think they'll just try to capture it based off tempo and timings here?
I think it's going to be on timings, because they use the no march a little bit later. They are going to be probably slightly down on points. The losing team, if I'm not mistaken, the team that's currently losing does generate skill points a little bit faster, so they may have caught up to that point. But I think because of a little bit of the late use of no march, they are going to wait for the timing of their skill bar to be as full as they feel comfortable with, then cash the arc. Then we might see a play on them get a little bit more aggressive on the back end of this match to look to dunk a little bit more arcs consistently.
That's a lot of thens there. So we'll have to see if they're gonna be able to implement the Dirty Dan plan as we continue on with this match. Sky Altar, as we were talking about, heavy assault. There is a rally on it. It is a CPU-A with a Pakal secondary, so anti-swarm rally here. Will 60MX have enough to defend this? Man, it's getting chunked. I think this is over. And yet again, the Sky Altar falling and being painted blue for Ao77. Ao77 has had continued success on the Sky Altar as they use Time Warp and No March. Okay, so that indicates to me that Ao77 want to go this building game. They want to go this building route. Now, the only thing is, if they used it a little bit earlier, perhaps they didn't have the skill points too, they would have been able to shave off an extra minute of the Sky Altar, but still, indicating to me that they have no interest of going middle. They want to make sure they use their Time Warp on No March. So making sure that they continue to generate points, they continue to have this advantage in terms of the 20% defense, less damage taken, as well as the 20% all damage on structures. So, Dayden, what do you think of the Time Warp No March use of Ao77 here?
I do like that, and they were able to use that in a nice way here because it solidified that defense of the Sky Altar that we're watching, and it also thwarted an attack on their home Desert Altar in that same topside lane as well. So getting value out of that by being able to retake an enemy structure and help to defend that hold, and then also helping to defend the hold on one of their home structures. So really nice play here. And again, these are these wrinkles that we're going to keep seeing in these creative uses, especially with the skill Time Warp. Like that skill is really unique in its own right too, and I think we're going to see some cool strategies come out of that as we're kind of seeing here.
For those that don't know what Time Warp is, resets the cooldown of all of your team's battlefield skills. Your next battlefield skill costs 100% fewer energy bars to use. So it essentially makes your next skill cost 0 points, and it resets your skill. So they're able to reset the cooldown of No March, which No March is a 3,600 second cooldown. And it kind of makes it so that you could use No March again. But in response, 60MX did capture the Arc. So there's going to be 7 minutes until this next Arc spawns. Do you think... I mean, 60MX kind of... Even though they did answer the building game a little bit with a No March of their own, Dayden, do you think they're going to go full in for the Arc again? And do you think Ao77 is going to give it again for free?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to assume that Time Warp is on the board for 60MX as well, as they did have it in their match last week. So as much as it kind of we're putting focus on this No March, because it's the two sides of how you kind of play Arc matches, Occupation versus Arc, but Time Warp is the real kicker here. And the timing and your usage of Time Warp is going to tell a lot, and even more value out of this Time Warp that Ao77 used, because even though 60MX was able to kind of dictate the tempo there on caching the Arc and trying to utilize the skill points, Ao77 has the skill points in the bag now to go and defend a mid Arc fight, while 60MX will be sitting probably relatively full at this point.
That is true. Man, this is so interesting because even though the building game hasn't been one side or the other, I feel like Ao77 has had more success attacking 60MX structures than 60MX has had attacking Ao77 structures.
Specifically on that top lane too, because they have been so aggressive on taking that Sky Altar from 60MX. Yeah. And 60MX hasn't been able to respond by taking the Desert Altar. And usually you kind of see that where one of the lanes, the outer lane in this case, is being a little bit more aggressive, but 60MX doing a really good job in still thwarting those assaults on their home Desert Altar to really take advantage of those attacks that they're putting on 60MX on the outside lane.
It's going to be super interesting because you could see that it's still a pretty close game. Ao77, ahead by a little bit here. Well, 1.5k essentially. Mm-hmm. Yep. But they still have the provisioner advantage, and that's going to be I feel like, the ticking time bomb for 60MX here. Even if they capture this arc, if they continue to lose the Sky Altar and then they're going to be down, what, 3-4k points off provisions, I feel like Ao77 in a way could kind of sacrifice an arc and get those points back via provisions.
Yeah, especially when and here's like again, here's that wrinkle where your other team is using no march, they're going occupation focus, so you have to have in mind that there are provisions in play. However, you can kind of respond to that knowing that they're not going to be sending as many troops to the middle, if any at all, and you can reallocate those resources to say, hey, we need a provisioner because they're not sending troops to the middle, and we can sacrifice, you know, a player to start gathering for us. Yeah,
the thing about gathering though, even though, you know, people make fun of farmers in Rise of Kingdoms or whatever, gathering in Ark of Osiris is actually a skill. Like you can't just, I'm gonna put down the swords and go to a caravan. There's specific places caravans spawn. You have to, you know, you can't meander around the fog of war to try to find a caravan, because there's specific hotspots. You'd have to have good gear. You'd have to have commander presets. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into gathering. So I just don't know if M60MX have that player that has the skill set to, you know, be that main gatherer for them. If not, then they would have already had that player out there, right? So
this is true. This is a good point as well. Yeah, and I think that was someone made the comment as well while we're doing Grand Prix and seeing some of the Chinese teams implement the occupation and heavy gathering approach. I think it was actually in my interview with Yomi that I did from 2748, and he did make the point that you probably won't see as much of it in Osiris League because not everyone has the maxed gathering gear to really take advantage of that. So that is a good point to call out.
And the thing about going arc focus that's tough is how many marches do you actually bring middle?
yeah
Because we saw last week 75 DC, they didn't go middle. They used like one skill middle versus to the death bog down 10 points from WIB, and they were able to deny the arc with a master strategy. Perhaps that's going to be in the minds of 60MX, and you know they're going to continue bringing these marches here because no arc is safe in 2025 at this point.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind too of a master strategy play as well. Like if you are weak, a little bit too weak in the mid, you know, there could be a play that's called to bring 30 marches on, and if you have only, you know, 10 marches in the middle because you think that they're not going mid, you can get stifled there by a master strategist play. So there's a lot of wrinkles that have been added into Osiris League with the addition of these new skills, and I'm here for it.
But the thing is, if you bring too many marches middle, this is what's going to happen. Desert Altar gets taken. Looks like the Shrine of Life is under assault, but that should be saved. Sky Altar looks like this is going to be under heavy assault as well. It's just been omnipresent presence. It's just been omnipresent, like, attacks from Ao77. Just continuously hammering the buildings of 60MX, and 60MX, their response was to also use a no march and try to respond in that way, but it's tough for them because I don't know, the Ao77 have just had their number when it comes to buildings.
Yeah, I agree. They've just been diligent. They've been very diligent.
The Desert Storm actually missed a couple marches here, so there's going to be a couple marches in this outer side here that are stealthed from Ao77. Though 60MX have full control of this middle, but with stealth marches, can they potentially put a master strategy in here? It looks like this will be under 60MX's control for the most parts.
That is a good amount of marches to pester the R carrier. 60MX decides to split off a little bit too early, so it is a fair amount of marches that are still cloaked there. So we definitely are going to have to keep an eye on that. And at the very least, like I said, it's going to be harassment for the arc carrier. I do think 60MX still is going to be able to cash this here. And then now, of course, comes the discussion: is are they gonna look to continue to cash?
I don't know if 60MX knows that these marches are invisible. Look, this is a T1 arc carrier walking straight into them.
Yep.
This is the ambush waiting to happen. I'm not gonna lie, Dirty Dan, this arc is it's not free by any means. There's gonna be some marches that pop out. There you go. And this march should pop as soon as the skill cycle happens. It is T1 arc carrier. There you go. Sad faced insta.
And
looks like
just a quick.
It looks like there's not going to be a play on this arc, but there was potential for a master strategy or some reinforcements coming through. But they're going to continue to be an annoyance here because they still have some marches. Although, there you go. Sneaky tactics did wear off, so they are not invisible anymore.
Oh, no. It was good timing and pacing by Ao77 to try and spread that out. Again, I think you're really looking for 60MX to get a little bit careless there. And during that time of the arc fights, we did see a 4 altar flip ever so slightly for Ao77. So as you can see, the Sky Altar attack here on that top side yet again, and that is now going to start to generate points as 60MX responds with a time warp now.
Time warp, but they didn't use a second skill, so I'm curious as to what they're time warping. They used time warp and are saving the skill that they time warped. There you go, no march. They're using no march. Okay, so they're gonna try to take back the structures with no march. I believe the no march for the no march from Ao77 expired quite some time ago. So they're going to be able to take back these structures. And the thing about No March that's great is you can see that it halves the time to take back your structure and start generating points. So they're going to be able to generate some points. They have 3 altars. Sky Altar looks like it's going to be taken back. But at least taking back your own home structures is going to be a priority for them.
100%. And I think this does put 60MX yet again kind of in that wheelhouse of kind of dictating this tempo because skill bar is going to be full now, right? It's because of time warp, that usage of No March doesn't cost any skill points.
Well, it does use 6 points to use time warp.
Okay.
So it's still going to cost 6 points overall. But it did reset the timer here. And now, if I'm 60MX, you have to go full offensive on these buildings. You have to use time warp to its full potential here. I'd
100%.
assume that they're going to hold this arc, try to make this a... Can they still make this a 2-arc game? There's 11 minutes. Yeah, they could essentially make this a 2-arc game. There's going to be like 1 minute until that 3rd arc spawns, but...
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is a very, very... Like, they're kind of playing into Ao77's hand here. Where Ao77 have been dominant in the building game, even though they do have the no march advantage. What do you think of the strategy here from 60MX to continue to go towards this no march, to try to respond to the building game of Ao77? And not really focus on these arcs. It is getting pretty late into the game to where, like, if you were to focus on the arcs, you would have probably done it 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. I think it is an interesting play, especially considering that like they're not mirroring the no marches to kind of negate what's going on, but they're kind of taking their own pacing at using no march. So again, this is just adding, like, this is like a different flow from a match that we've just never really seen before. I feel like, you know, like where there's this real true ebb and flow to the occupation game. And, you know, adding that wrinkle of like, do we go mid, do we not? So this is a flow of a match that I'm really quite unfamiliar with seeing, and it's really fun to kind of get this feel for, you know, what's to come in the strategy of Osiris League due to these new skills.
Yeah, it feels like each team here is playing their own game, where usually it's one team taking action, one team being responsive. Here it's like, all right, Ao77 going building game, and then while 60MX is going for the arc, and then now that they have the arc, they're now 60MX is trying to respond in the building game instead of just using no march at the same time, mirroring the skills. It has been kind of staggered skill usage from these two teams, and we'll see if 60MX they're kind of double dipping in my opinion. They're going for these arcs. They have the 2 arcs, but they're also trying to respond in the building game. So we'll have to see if that'll work out for them. But the provisioners, I feel like, are going to be the kind of a big play here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from MX. So at least they have some provisioners out there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from Ao77. So it looks like Ao77 actually brought back some of the provisioners, perhaps forcefully, through some. Oh, actually, not even that many provisioner points. 699 provisioner points. So.
Yeah, I do think Ao77 had some provisioners out a little bit earlier than 60MX, so there is going to be a slight advantage, even if the provisioner amounts are about the same. We are going to see that No March is going to go. I think we're closing in on the last minute for 60MX No March here, so not much value to be had. They did lose that shrine on the bottom side as well, so not really getting a lot of value out of that No March here. If anything, it was really kind of just to go in and kind of stabilize some of those buildings on their home structures a little bit there.
Oh man, Dirty Dan. It is great that they're able to stabilize, but the points differential, look at this. 767, 363 points per minute. Ao77 with the lead, and it is growing. Although, 60MX, they do have 3.5k in the bank.
Yeah,
but
I think we have a true score right now of 23-2 or 23-3. So it's about a 400-500 point difference right now in true score with 60MX cashing that arc.
Oh my goodness. It might actually come down to that shrine capture, first occupation, the 800 point differential.
Yeah.
They were talking about in the beginning of the match. Chat, who do you think is going to win this Arc of Osiris match, 60MX or Ao77? It is still up in the air, and all of these structures mean so much. If a Desert Altar flips, if the Shrine already flipped, but if any structure flips, that is going to be more and more momentum towards each of these teams. There's only 15 minutes left. It is a paramount to make sure that you continue to generate these points per minute. And Ao77, this whole match has had that advantage in terms of building game.
Yeah, tempo has definitely been on their side, especially on this top side here, as we're looking at a very nice attempt at an assault from 60MX to try and steal that Desert Altar. And again, I am just quite curious on this top side of how well MX has been able to play, constantly assaulting the Sky Altar, taking, and then just being really diligent in keeping their own Desert Altar.
Arc was captured. Then they're going to make this a 3-arc game. Oh my goodness, chat, we're going to be able to see one last arc fight. 8 minutes until arc spawns. 60MX saying, hey, with the way things are going, they are going to lose the Sky Altar. They have been losing the building game. Ao77 has been chipping away at these buildings over and over and over again. They know the layout of this Sky Altar like the back of their hand. They go in there, it's like their second home.
Yeah, you would think that it's Ao77's home structure with how much that it's been blue.
That is indeed true, Dirty Dan. So 60MX seeing that, they're like, all right, we have to go for this Hail Mary, go for this arc play. And we'll have to see, because we could see that there's 2 skills left on each of these skill bars. What do you think the skills are? Do you think there's going to be a master strategy in there? Do you think there's a to the death? Do you think they're mid skills?
I think definitely at least one is master strategy. I don't know what the last one would be though, because I feel like slowly but surely we've kind of gotten away from to the death being used. An option for some of these other skills. So I think a master strategist is definitely on the board for at least one of these teams. As to what is available, I mean, maybe there's like a bog down because that's relatively cheap and you can get some good usage out of it. Maybe a Heaven's Grace, but then you're kind of talking about really kind of capping up on the skill points that you're going to be using. So, yeah, this is going to be a really interesting last mid arc fight here.
Because now the question is, do you think Ao77 continues for these structures and says, hey, if they go full mid, we're just going to take all their structures. We have the provisioners. We believe that with our current 800 point advantage, by the way, that is all the shrine capture. That is crazy that the point differential is pretty much the shrine capture that we saw earlier. Or the point differential right now is, and plus us capturing all of the structures, plus our provisions, will negate the 4K point arc. Or do you think they're going to be like, oh, wow, well, we actually have to go middle this time?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in the Grand Prix when the Chinese servers really put it on occupation, and you've seen the impact that a 4 altar swing can have. You know, and it really forces your leads to be diligent in kind of tracking how many troops are being sent to middle. As you can see that there is a sentry already up for 60MX, so they are trying to be diligent on that and trying to sniff out what Ao77 have to do. You have to be really careful in this day and age. Like you said, it's 2025. You can't assume anything now. So it really is going to be, you have to play these fine lines here in these closing minutes of this arc match.
This is the earliest we've seen Ao77 rotate. Ao77 going for this early rotation towards this temple, indicating to me that they definitely want to go for this arc. And you can see 60MX, they have full vision of this. Seeing these marches just rotating are responding. So after all of the shenanigans with the buildings, with no march, with time warp, with all these new gizmos and gadgets in 2025, it comes down to a good old classic. Meet me in mid and 30v30 me, bro.
Yep.
As all these marches are going to start coming here, Dirty Dan.
And what's better than that? I mean, like I said, I think it's a good. These adjustments that Lilith has made have been good, because if we're talking Grand Prix, like I said, some of those Chinese teams would just do a 4 altar swing, and you have like, you know, you fake out the troops that you're bringing to the mid, and then we're kind of left watching some provisioners, as I have a feeling we probably will be doing that this match anyway. But like, who doesn't love to see like a good last third arc fight to really determine who is going to come out on top of this match? Because this is going to be a must-win arc. Whoever snatches this arc, is their percentages to win is drastically going to increase.
Chat, who do you think is going to win this last arc? Who do you think is going to win this match? 60MX or Ao77? This is so exciting. The 2 matches we've catched so far has pretty much come down to this last arc. It's absolutely insane. There's a march just walking in there from 60MX, just saying hello. But it looks like they're doing okay. We're seeing a lot of familiar names from both sides. Playing with and against these guys for a full KVK.
Maybe
and now they're pretty much going to be running it back with a KVK murder ball.
A little bit too familiar. They're like, oh, Lilith, give us a break. We did this for 3 weeks already. Now we got to come back and give you guys one last show.
Luckily for these guys, they only have to do it for an hour instead of 3 weeks straight. So, with 3 minutes to go, Ao77, they do have the positioning advantage. Let's see if there's any other marches out on the field. There are some marches that are going to be late. 1 minute 40 seconds to walk to middle. So these are going to be late reinforcements. 2 minutes. They probably will not make it for this this arc fight. Oh my goodness, Dirty Dan. Every single march matters here. As you can see, 60MX starting to approach here. Literally no other blue marches outside of perhaps 3 attacking the Shrine of Life. 2. Outside of that, everyone in Ao77, everyone in 2377 is right here at the temple.
If Ao77 is able to get this shrine, it's going to actually have some pretty big implications with a 5% march speed reduction from that's going to come away from 60MX. So that's going to be crucial in this last arc, as they're going to look to run it.
Talking about KVK, they have an arrow tower They have 2 arrow towers in this mid fight. Oh my goodness. Desert Storm. How much damage does Desert Storm do? I mean...
Tick.
Okay. They use Desert Storm for a little bit of chip damage. But I feel like that's negated by the arrow towers. And you can see Ao77 using Bog Down. What's the response? To the death from 60MX. They do have to the death. Ao77 to the death in response. But that is all the points from 60MX. They used 9 versus the 10 points of Ao77. They will have the Bog Down advantage. I definitely think Bog Down's a better skill for this mid fight than Desert Storm. Oh my goodness.
That's some of the troubles that you were talking about with Desert Storm, right? Like you're kind of limiting yourself here on the point usage, and it was something that they kind of just had to do.
Oh, this is gonna be close. The sad faces. Let's zoom out real quick. Let's see the sad faces. It is looking pretty even in terms of sad faces right now. This will come down to the micro of these murder balls. Who has a better murder ball, Ao77 or 60MX? We got 30 seconds until this arc spawns, and it is looking increasingly... Wait a second. Is it looking increasingly red? Is it looking like 60MX is having the advantage here? Look at the sad faces coming out from Ao77.
That's the classic 960 dominant middle performance that we're used to seeing. You've seen it for years, chat, and this is exactly what we're talking about with 960 and their middle dominance. Down a skill, advantage to Ao77 in the middle, and 960 says, you know what? Doesn't matter. We're better. We're better at the micros than you guys.
Wow. What a huge murder ball win from 60MX. Looking at the skills, if this was any other team, you would say that, hey, they should be in a disadvantage. They should lose. Bog Down to the death, kind of canceling each other out. I will say, though, what Bog Down does is it reduces healing. To the death already makes it so that the 30 units that are hit by that don't heal. So perhaps a little bit of... You know, they don't really synergize together too well, although there were a lot more than 30 marches in there.
Oh, yeah.
But a great arc capture by... Well, not arc capture yet, but arc control. But look at the blue marches, though, coming through. Will they be there in time? It is a speedy double C with T1. I don't know, man. I think this arc will be under control for 60MX.
Yeah, looks like they are going to comfortably cash it and pop a boba, as he has done in many arc matches in the past. A clutch arc runner for sure, looking to seal the fate of Ao77 here potentially.
Hey man, Papa's showing that, hey, even if you are F2P, you can be in a top Osiris League team. As you can see, he is about to get in here, and they have captured the arc. So that is the final arc. But the point differential still isn't insurmountable. It is very much towards 60MX's control. But there is a world where Ao77 could make back these 2K points. So how does that world start to, like, how does that come to fruition, Dirty Dan?
They got to take... Well, it's good because this is what Ao77 has done well the entire match, but they got to go in and they got to more specifically take these altars and stop the accumulation of points for 60MX. So good thing it's kind of in the wheelhouse, but yeah, I think that's the first step. And then, as we've kind of alluded to, this is going to come down to provisions here.
The provisions is going to be so interesting. Oh man, this is gonna come down to the wire here. Let's see the points per minute. Right now, slightly towards Ao77. Nothing too different right now. Only the outposts being captured and not draining points, and the Shrine of Life. The Desert Altar and Sky Altar are gonna be the biggest points of contention. 60MX Desert Altar getting pretty chunked here. This Attila Subutai rally has been super successful for Ao77 in terms of taking these structures, especially against this Heraclius with YSS, though it does allow you to fill with anything, you do not get as many stats as you usually do with a full set of infantry gear or cavalry gear with that full set of leadership gear. But still, this Heraclius is holding strong. They do have a lot of marches around here, and perhaps some march swapping over and over again. This Desert Altar hold or take may make or break this march, and it looks like Ao77 able to deny the Desert Altar. Minus 300 points to 60MX. Let's see if they're going to be able to have that same success in this top side. 60MX looks like they are going to be able to hold the Sky Altar at least. So that 4 altar win condition for Ao77 has been thwarted. They were at least able to get 3 though. Dirty Dan, what do you think right now of the position of Ao77? Is there any potential that they could come back into this game? I do believe they brought back their provisioners, right?
Wow.
For that arc
wow.
fight.
They did indeed. Wow. So this is fading for Ao77 quickly. I didn't realize that they had brought in their provisioners already, and still almost 2,000 points, 1,800 points, however you want to cut it up, difference here. And that might be just a little bit too much for your last little bit of provisioners to come out. Really good take on the Desert Altar, but I think it's just going to come up a little bit short here.
That's the risk when you go middle, right? That is the risk that you bear, is that it is an all or nothing play. Because if you go all in and you don't come out with the arc, then you're just so behind in terms of tempo, so behind in terms of pressure. And, you know, I feel like they felt forced to go middle there. But if they went buildings, perhaps, so that perhaps I don't know. Maybe it would have been too many points to come back anyways because of how short the game was. There's like, what, 11 minutes, 10 minutes when that arc spawned? But that just shows that when you go for that all-in play, it is so hard to come back from going all-in in middle and not getting that objective.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I think maybe there could have been a play there where maybe Ao77 sent like maybe a smaller contingent and looked like they were kind of forming up a middle ball, but 60MX was in position with sentries to kind of sniff out anything like that, and I think they would have been able to allocate the resources appropriately. But I think there definitely was a play there that they could have went for the full altar swing and just hope that 60MX sends a little bit too much into the middle, which would have secured the altars, you know, a little bit longer. And then I think maybe if they look back on their skills, maybe Master Strategist would have been nice to have. But again, you're kind of, you know, those are the uncontrollables, right? So really good match here from both teams as we kind of wind down this last minute. And this is exactly what I think that the format needed, giving us this ability to run occupations, but also not diminishing so much what mid can offer you. And this is just one of the many great matches that are to come in Season 9.
Now, I don't want to shut the door yet. Maybe the main provisioner didn't come back, but I mean, they already have 3.7k in terms of provision. And we were talking about how 60MX haven't been provisioning. They're at 3.1. They've been provisioning quite a ton here, to where if they didn't respond in provisions, they would have actually been down right now in terms of points. So kudos to the 60MX provisioner, because even though there weren't that many of you, it was successful nonetheless. As the game ends here, 60MX taking the victory against Ao77. What a close match, but it all came down to that last arc fight. Ao77 Hellhound taking the most valuable player, but 1960 60MX taking home the victory. 36k points for Ao77 versus 37.9k points for 60MX. Man, Dirty Dan, do you have any final words for this match and any final thoughts before we head to the break?
No, it was just a great match, great showing, and you know, the hopes are still alive for Ao77, so they just got to keep performing, and really good job by 60MX to kind of prime themselves up to get into a better position. And yeah, I mean, just stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of wrinkles, a lot of cool strategies that we'd see in the Season 9. It's great to be back with you, and looking forward to the next match that you're going to have with Brian.
Yep. We do have a match at 15 UTC. When the stream ends, everyone will be sent over there. So, get a snack, get some coffee, go to the bathroom, and we will be back at 15 UTC. See you then.